Yeah.
We got London on the track.
This is all God's doing, man, you can't plan it. But if the devil's in the details, then I'm satanic.
People's kid, how we doing? It's your boy Kobe back in another video, and as always, I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Big news from the college basketball world last week, as the #1 high school player in the class of 2018, Marvin Bagley III, announced he was going to forego his senior year and reclassify to the class of 2017 to join Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils this upcoming season. Although this is yet another huge recruiting victory for a program filled with 5-star players every single year, I was a bit surprised to see him immediately catapult from #1 in the class of 2018 to #1 in the class of 2017 on all the scout websites. Without knowing anything else, they are essentially saying that Marvin Bagley III is the best player in all of high school, regardless of age. And truthfully, I think that might just be a bit too much hype for my liking. So in this video, I'm going to explain why I still like Missouri's Michael Porter Jr. as the overall top player in the class of 2017, and even maybe as the potential #1 draft pick in the 2018 NBA draft. With every passing year, the high school basketball circuit brings us new players and names to talk about in the discussion of future NBA stars. In comparison to all the other major North American sports, there are no pre-18-year-old athletes covered more or as in depth as high school basketball prospects. It definitely makes sense. I mean, it's very rare to see a football or baseball rookie hit the scene before the legal drinking age of 21. In fact, the Yankees' Aaron Judge is technically a rookie this year at the age of 25. But for basketball, many adolescents are ready to play among grown men in the NBA immediately after high school. And similar to how their predecessors were forced to wait 1 year before entering the NBA draft, Marvin Bagley III and Michael Porter Jr. are prepared to compete among the best players in the world present day. Fortunately for college basketball fans though, fans and scouts will get a full season to compare and contrast these two players, highlighting their strengths and weaknesses against amateurs before deciding where to select them in the 2018 draft. Heading into the year, however, I think it is interesting to debate who really is the #1 player in the class of 2017. Of course, Bagley is now considered the can't-miss prospect between the two of them, but I believe there are some valid reasons to caution against this notion. Yet before getting into the differences between Porter Jr. and Bagley, and why I still prefer Porter Jr., it is important that we first address the potential issues semantics may bring in this argument with respect to the words player and prospect. While I know some people use the words player and prospect interchangeably, I do not intend to do so in this video, so let us establish clear definitions for them. When I discuss who is a better player, that is a reference to who I believe will be better in the present and immediate future. Whenever I use the word prospect, on the other hand, I'm speaking towards how they will project as a player long term, and thus who I would prefer to invest in for the future. Hopefully this is easy enough to understand, and you can follow the rest of the video. Looking at the profiles of both Michael Porter Jr. and Marvin Bagley III, there is a lot to like with respect to their physical profile. Standing tall around the 6'10", 6'11" range with 7-foot wingspans, both Porter Jr. and Bagley had their way with high school basketball opponents, as their size alone spelled trouble for most teams. The way in which they used their height advantage differed immensely, however, as Porter Jr. was much more comfortable on the perimeter, while Bagley did much of his damage from inside the paint. In his senior season in high school, apart from averaging a ridiculous 36.2 points per game, 13.6 rebounds a game, 5 assists, 3.2 steals, and 2.7 blocks, the most noteworthy stat may be that he managed to shoot over 40% from 3 with the high usage rate those numbers would suggest. Although Bagley was no slouch himself, and his numbers of 25.8 points per game, 14.9 rebounds per game, and 3.1 blocks per game in the EYBL might even be more impressive considering the better competition, the more advanced perimeter skills Porter carries over Marvin is my first reason as to why I see Porter as the better player right now. While there is still room for improvement with his ball handling and second level offensive moves, I feel more confident in Porter's offensive skills, ready to transfer immediately at the college level as opposed to Bagley. I'm not saying I don't expect Marvin to get buckets in Cameron Indoor this season, but the over-reliance on athleticism to compensate for a true offensive skill set will eventually reach a breaking point come ACC play next January. And to those who might point to evidence of Bagley's shooting stroke in the Drew League, his 63% free throw percentage and 23% three-point field goal percentage in the EYBL is a much more credible source. Having said this, there are definitely some areas that Bagley excels at over Porter as well, and it's only fair to point out his advantages here. 1. Despite being the same size and reach, Bagley projects to be a more versatile defender against bigs, as he looks to be an above average rim protector next year. Along with this, you can readily see Bagley's fast twitch athleticism in any of his highlights, and this will serve him well in things like offensive rebounding and being able to handle multiple switches in the pick and roll. In comparison defensively, Porter has some work to do and will actually need to fine-tune his fundamentals at a better rate than Bagley, who will get away with more as a superior athlete. But staying on this point, this idea of getting away with bad habits due to physical talents is such a relevant point for these top basketball players spending a year in college. Because while I can acknowledge Porter's flaws both on and off the ball defensively, I also expect his size and versatility to provide adequate defensive production on the Division I level. Thus, what I personally perceive to be more valuable as I compare them as players right now is what they will do on the offensive side of the ball. And Porter Jr. should win that battle rather easily, not only because there are clearly less mouths to feed on Missouri's team than Duke's, but also because of his higher skill set. Now, if we want to have a conversation of who is the better prospect, we definitely have to take a different approach. In my opinion, I don't disagree with the notion that Bagley is the better prospect than Porter, but there are a few caveats as it relates to who will actually develop more this season. First though, the main reason why I believe Bagley to be the superior prospect is because of how fluid he looks on the court. His movement is nothing short of pristine. What I mean by this is, despite the fact of being 6'11", it appears one day he might carry the shake and bake of a guard 8 inches his junior. Honestly, Porter simply doesn't have this type of flavor in his motions on the court, as he is a much more compact athlete. Also, I know I gave Bagley some slack for his shooting, but this is also an area that we can project to grow with more instruction and time, as he has shown a solid base to work from. All in all, I'm confident in giving Bagley the prospect with more upside title over Porter for his higher versatility and star potential. Yet with that said, this doesn't mean I automatically expect Bagley to have developed more than Porter by season's end. On the contrary, I think there is a strong case that Porter will have fine-tuned his skills more come NBA draft time. The reason for this is quite simple. Ultimately, Porter's situation in joining an 8-24 Missouri Tiger team from a year before makes him incredibly essential to any chance they have in competing in the SEC this season. The team's successes, failures, and growing pains will be pretty much synonymous with Porter's successes, failures, and growing pains. With that much dependency needed from him, there is no question he will be given an extended opportunity to show what he's got every single night on the floor. That scenario is far from the case for Bagley. Instead, Marvin opted to join one of the best basketball programs in the country and will be competing for playing time with other 5-star recruits. Now, it's hard to imagine the #1 ranked player in the country finding his way out of the starting lineup come opening day, but the Duke coaching staff is no nonsense on how they decide who is going to play and who's not going to play. As the team was projected to be a top 10 team in the country with or without Bagley, there will be no patience on waiting for one of their top recruits to develop. If you don't believe me, look at Marquise Bolden or Harry Giles last year, 5-star recruits who found themselves doing some heavy bench warming at times in the 2016-2017 season. Furthermore, even if Bagley does indeed thrive at Duke this year, it will most likely come in a singular role or function. Whether it's being given the role of defensive stopper or energy guy, this can limit his offensive growth on a team known for its endless amount of offensive weapons any given year. At the end of the day though, the Michael Porter Jr. versus Marvin Bagley debate comes down to this idea of prospect versus player I defined earlier. To me, Porter right now stands out as a superior player and more useful player for a team like Missouri, who will rely on some of his polish from the start. For my NBA viewers though who could give a crap about college basketball, Bagley is probably the rawer, but more tantalizing prospect and could end up deserving his #1 status as the years go by. No doubt excited to see what these guys look like come November. Anyways guys, that's the video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, as I'm looking to start to get into a groove and uploading more to the channel. As always, let me hear your thoughts on the debate. Who do you prefer between Marvin Bagley III and Michael Porter Jr.? Also, I'm going to start highlighting the most insightful comments at the end of my next video to give some shine to the engaged viewers. In my last video, the greatest NBA game ever played, Blue had an awesome comment explaining why Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals was his personal favorite game of our generation. Reading a portion of it, he said, "LeBron was supposed to be the most talented player in NBA history. Winning championships was a given. That wasn't his destiny. His destiny was to do the impossible, winning in Cleveland, the city he grew up in, the team that drafted him. Dang bro, beautifully stated. I appreciate the comment. Anyways guys, with that said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day or night or whenever you're watching this. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Yeah.